For years, Zhao Liying was the one star Beijing could never control. She wasn't just popular, she was a once-in-a-generation phenomenon, a woman whose dramas pulled in tens of billions of views, whose name alone could shift stock prices, and whose social media following passed 100 million long before most actors even earned their first lead role. In a system built on hierarchy and obedience, she became the rare outsider who climbed to the top without powerful backers, without an elite academy pedigree, and without attaching herself to any of the entrenched entertainment factions that dominate China's television empire. But the same independence that made her beloved by the public slowly turned her into a problem for those who expected every major star to align with the industry's unwritten rules. Behind the scenes, executives questioned her refusal to join certain state-aligned studios. Producers complained that she wouldn't follow suggested career directions. And insiders whispered that she ignored multiple mandatory collaborations that most actors considered non-negotiable. And then came the moment that changed everything. A decision, a relationship, and a period of silence that gave her enemies exactly what they needed. Suddenly, projects disappeared, brand deals stalled, and China's most bankable actress found herself pushed toward the margins of an industry she once dominated. Tonight, we uncover the forces she defied, the whispers that chased her, and the quiet mechanism that can erase a star without ever announcing it. Long before anyone in Beijing realized they had a problem on their hands, Zhao Liying was quietly rewriting the rules of how a Chinese actress could rise to power. She did not come from the prestigious Beijing Film Academy or the elite Central Academy of Drama, nor did she enter the industry under the protection of a major studio or a politically connected mentor. Instead, she began at the bottom of the hierarchy. Cast as side characters, extras, and faces no one remembered. In an industry where upward mobility is rare and real opportunities are usually reserved for those tied to the right factions. Yet from those limitations, she built a momentum that no one predicted. Her breakout with Legend of Lu Jian showed a new kind of heroine, sharp, resilient, and not shaped by the typical palace drama mold that Chinese studios favored. When The Journey of Flower exploded in popularity and crossed tens of billions of cumulative views, the industry suddenly woke up to a simple truth. An actress with no elite background had become the most powerful woman on Chinese television. What unsettled insiders wasn't just her success, but the scale of it. At her peak, her ratings rivaled entire networks. Her dramas lifted the value of the streaming platforms they aired on, and her Weibo posts could generate more traction than state-backed promotional campaigns. She was a star who owed her rise not to a faction, but to the audience, something that has always made regulators and studio executives uneasy in a tightly controlled entertainment ecosystem. And unlike other leading actresses, she avoided forming alliances with entrenched power groups, such as Hengdian-based studios, certain state-leaning media companies, or production houses known for shaping careers through political alignment. That independence made her unpredictable, and in a system built on consistency and control, unpredictability rarely goes unpunished. By the time Princess Agents shattered streaming records and drew in international attention, becoming one of the most watched Chinese dramas in the world, Zhao Liying was no longer just a celebrity. She was a cultural force whose value didn't run through the usual power channels, and that alone marked the beginning of her problems. Because when a star rises too high without fitting into the structure designed to manage them, industry gatekeepers start asking a dangerous question. If this actress does not rely on us, then who does she rely on? And more importantly, what happens when her choices don't align with the career path we expect her to follow? As Zhao Liying's influence grew beyond what the industry's traditional hierarchy could comfortably accommodate, the pressure to bring her into alignment intensified, and this was where her path diverged sharply from other stars who rose alongside her. Behind closed doors, powerful studios approached her with long-term contracts that would have tied her to state-favored production houses, guaranteed her a steady pipeline of major roles, and integrated her into the established entertainment factions that handle everything from casting to political compliance. For most actors, these deals were a golden ticket, insurance against the volatility of the industry, and a pathway to stability within the system. But Zhao Liying was not most actors. She turned down multiple offers from studios connected to Hengdian, declined partnerships with companies backed by provincial media groups, and avoided signing multi-year exclusive agreements that would have given political gatekeepers far more influence over her public image than she was willing to allow. This independence came with consequences. Producers began to complain privately that she did not cooperate the way high-level stars were expected to, particularly when it came to accepting projects that served broader strategic interests rather than purely artistic ones. Some insiders claimed she refused certain co-production agreements that were quietly tied to regional investment deals and government-initiated cultural pushes. Others pointed to her reluctance to take on promotional duties for dramas with sensitive themes that aligned closely with seasonal political messaging. While none of these refusals were scandalous on their own, collectively, they signaled something that made the industry nervous. Zhao Liying was building a career on her own terms in a market where autonomy is rarely tolerated once an actor reaches a certain level of influence. Her selectiveness regarding endorsement deals caused even more tension. At her peak, brands were lining up with contracts worth tens of millions of yuan, expecting her involvement to elevate their standing among young consumers. But Zhao Liying turned down collaborations with several high-profile companies due to what insiders described as value disagreements, a subtle phrase that, in the Chinese entertainment world, often hints at mismatched political expectations. When a star of her magnitude rejects state-affiliated corporate partners or declines to participate in nationwide publicity campaigns, it creates friction not only with the companies themselves, but also with the agencies that broker these relationships. The more she refused, the more she was labeled as uncooperative, a word that carries far more weight in the Chinese entertainment ecosystem than it appears on the surface. Quietly, opportunities began to shift toward actresses who aligned more seamlessly with institutional expectations. Casting directors reported sudden adjustments to their project lists, some of which had previously been built around the assumption that Zhao Liying would lead a few high-budget productions she was rumored to be negotiating, for abruptly moved forward with different stars, though no announcement was ever made about why her involvement evaporated. And then there were the whispers, the kind that don't appear in headlines but circulate relentlessly among insiders. Rumors that her refusal to sign with a major state-linked studio was viewed as a challenge to the system claims that certain producers were advised to broaden their casting options after meetings with regulators. Suggestions that she lacked the cohesive strategic alignment expected of first-tier celebrities. None of these accusations were public, but all of them produced real consequences. Because in an industry where major roles depend as much on compliance as on talent or popularity, being branded as unpredictable or unwilling to follow the expected path quickly turns from a perception issue into a career threat. By the time these tensions reached their peak, Zhao Liying's extraordinary success no longer shielded her. Instead, it amplified every perceived misstep. The higher she climbed, the more her independence was reframed as defiance, and the more her choices were interpreted as challenges to Beijing's unwritten rules. What began as a career built on merit slowly became a battlefield of expectations, obligations, and politics. A battlefield she never volunteered to fight on but could no longer avoid. If Zhao Liying's professional independence had already made certain industry players uneasy, nothing shifted her trajectory more dramatically than the relationship that unfolded in full view of the public. A relationship that, in the eyes of insiders, pulled her into a political and commercial vortex far larger than any tabloid storyline. When she married Feng Xiaofeng, it seemed at first like a conventional celebrity union, one that the industry would welcome as a stabilizing narrative for a woman whose career had always been defined by her self-reliance. But behind the polished announcements and carefully curated photos, the marriage drew Zhao Liying into the orbit of a man whose connections, business interests, and family affiliations had long been watched closely by entertainment regulators. His background in multiple investment-linked productions, his proximity to several state-influenced media ventures, and the polarized reputation of his fan base created an environment in which every move she made became a point of scrutiny. During this period, decisions that once seemed purely artistic, the roles she accepted, the scripts she rejected, the directors she collaborated with, began to be interpreted through the lens of her relationship. Some producers quietly complained that projects she might have taken before her marriage suddenly became complicated. Others hinted that scripts she had expressed interest in were redirected after questions arose about whether her new family ties aligned neatly with the direction certain regulators wanted leading actresses to embody. None of these issues were explicit or public, but in China's entertainment industry, implicit pressure is often more decisive than any formal restriction. Then came the divorce, a polite, concise, almost clinical announcement that revealed nothing and answered even less. But the silence surrounding it was what spoke the loudest. Fans noted that she had stopped sharing personal updates long before the official statement. Industry watchers pointed to her absence from several high-profile events, that she would traditionally have attended. Rumors spread, quietly at first, that disagreements had arisen not only between the two actors, but also between their respective professional teams. Some insiders whispered that Zhao Liying's desire to reclaim creative autonomy clashed with the expectations placed upon her during the marriage. Others suggested that tensions emerged from conflicting strategic agendas during a period when the entertainment sector was facing tighter controls and heightened sensitivity around celebrity branding. What mattered far more than the truth, which remains known only to those closest to her, was how the industry responded. After the divorce, she entered what many described as a transition period, though the abrupt disappearance of major projects suggested something more calculated. In China's entertainment world, a high-profile separation often becomes a political liability, especially when regulators are increasingly focused on promoting images of stability, conformity, and moral alignment. A divorced actress at the top of the industry is never just a divorced actress. She becomes symbolically vulnerable, professionally risky, and easier to push aside under the guise of adjusting public image strategy. At the same time, the divorce amplified existing narratives about her independence. Instead of viewing her as an actress reclaiming her career, some insiders reframed the separation as evidence that she was difficult to manage, an accusation that conveniently aligned with the quiet frustrations studios had accumulated over the years. The combination of her personal decision and her long-standing refusal to attach herself to powerful factions formed a story that the industry understood all too well. Zhao Liying was stepping outside the boundaries of what the market, and perhaps what the regulators, preferred from someone with her level of influence. By the time the dust settled, the relationship that once seemed to anchor her public image had become the catalyst for a shift in how the industry perceived her. Instead of stability, it produced ambiguity. Instead of strengthening her connections, it exposed fault lines. And instead of giving her protection, it left her more isolated. A star whose every future move would be evaluated not by merit, but by what it implied about alignment, loyalty, and control. After the dust of her personal life settled, something far more unsettling emerged. A pattern so subtle, so carefully controlled, that most viewers didn't notice it at first, but people inside the industry recognized it immediately. Zhao Liying wasn't banned. She wasn't censored. She wasn't publicly criticized. Instead, she was placed into what insiders refer to as a soft blacklist, a quiet and calculated mechanism that shifts an actress from the center of the spotlight to its outer edges without ever declaring anything at all. The first signs appeared when several dramas she had been linked to, productions that normally would have accelerated into final negotiations, suddenly went silent. Scripts that were once described as tailored for her were quietly reassigned to actresses whose studios had stronger alignment with Beijing's major media blocks. Meetings she had already attended were postponed indefinitely, then canceled without explanation. And yet, all of these changes happened behind closed doors, leaving no evidence for the public to detect. As months passed, the pattern became impossible to ignore. Zhao Liying's exposure on mainstream platforms decreased sharply, whereas she once dominated primetime slots and social media rankings. Her name stopped appearing in Douban top 10 trending searches, and entertainment accounts that previously promoted her every move shifted their attention elsewhere. Analysts noticed that her commercial endorsements, which had once commanded 8-figure contracts, stalled abruptly. Several major brands reportedly hesitated, not because of her popularity, but because they sensed the industry's temperature cooling around her. In China's entertainment world, a brand's decision has less to do with star power and more to do with whether the celebrity is considered harmonious with the current environment. Zhao Liying, even without scandal, suddenly wasn't. Producers later admitted, anonymously, that they were encouraged to broaden their options when considering leading actresses. It wasn't a direct order. Everything was framed as a suggestion, the type that carries far more weight than a command because it signals the mood of regulators. The entertainment industry is acutely sensitive to these shifts, especially during periods when political narratives tighten and the state prioritizes stability over star-driven influence. When Zhao Liying insisted on choosing scripts based on artistic merit and personal interest, rather than pre-aligned thematic goals, her unpredictability was interpreted as misalignment. And misalignment, no matter how small, triggers caution across the entire ecosystem. The most striking evidence of the soft blacklist appeared in the distribution phase. 2 of her completed projects faced unusual delays, with one undergoing multiple rounds of technical review, a euphemism insiders use for regulatory hesitation. Another was pushed into a less favorable release slot, a tactic commonly used to lower visibility without openly punishing a star. Even promotional materials were scaled back, resulting in less media coverage and fewer appearances. These decisions were never explained, but they didn't need to be. Everyone understood. A star as influential as Zhao Liying cannot be removed from the industry overnight. Doing so would draw too much attention, but she can be gently pushed to the margins, one adjustment at a time. Fan communities noticed the shift long before the general public did. They questioned why an actress with over 100 million followers, a decade of top-tier ratings, and some of the most successful dramas in Chinese history, suddenly had fewer resources than actresses with only a fraction of her reach. The answers came in fragments: unconfirmed whispers from agents, cryptic posts from industry insiders, subtle hints dropped by journalists who understood the boundaries they could not cross. Together, these fragments painted a clear picture. Zhao Liying was still allowed to exist, but she was no longer allowed to dominate. In the end, what made the soft blacklist so effective was not its severity, but its invisibility. No accusations, no headlines, no scandal. Just a slow, deliberate recalibration of her career trajectory, carried out under the guise of market shifts and creative realignments. And for an industry obsessed with stability and predictability, it was the perfect solution to a star who had risen too high, too independently, and too far outside the system's comfort zone. By the time Zhao Liying's projects began to disappear, and her presence slowly thinned across the platforms that once relied on her to drive audience ratings, it became clear that something larger than career fluctuations was shaping her trajectory. To understand what happened next, and why her path diverged so sharply from the dominance she once held, one must understand what Beijing really expects from its top-tier celebrities. In a system where entertainment is increasingly treated as an extension of cultural strategy, the state wants stars who are not only popular, but also predictable, cooperative, and willing to align their public image with broader national narratives. That means taking roles in productions with approved ideological themes, participating in regulated publicity campaigns, and avoiding creative decisions that could disrupt the balance carefully maintained between commerce and political messaging. And this is precisely where Zhao Liying's reputation for independence became a liability. Industry insiders have long noted that the entertainment sector's direction has shifted dramatically since 2021, with regulators tightening oversight on celebrity behavior, content themes, and even fan culture. Those who rose through institutional channels adapted quickly, aligning with studios backed by state media conglomerates and participating in projects explicitly designed to support cultural priorities. But Zhao Liying, who built her career outside these channels, was not structured for obedience, not because she resisted authority, but because her professional foundation was rooted in personal autonomy. For a star of her influence, that kind of autonomy is seen not as freedom, but as unpredictability. And unpredictability is something Beijing has little interest in promoting. As a result, her career entered a phase industry watchers describe as managed visibility, the stage where an actress is neither erased nor empowered. Her appearances became carefully measured. The roles she received skewed toward smaller, safer projects with minimal political weight. Even the promotional campaigns she participated in appeared conservative, built around nostalgia and low-risk themes rather than the sweeping, high-profile productions she once led. Meanwhile, newer actresses closely aligned with major studios began to replace her in the kinds of dramas that previously would have been written with her in mind. Yet despite these limitations, Zhao Liying has not vanished. And this is where her story diverges from others who face similar pressures. Her fan base remains enormous, her name still commands global recognition, and her legacy in modern Chinese television is unmatched. The system may have adjusted her influence, but it cannot erase the cultural imprint she created. Even regulators understand that removing a figure of her stature outright would generate unnecessary backlash. So instead, she now exists in a carefully calibrated middle ground, allowed to work, allowed to appear, but not allowed to dominate. At the same time, Zhao Liying has taken deliberate steps to reshape her career from within this constrained environment. Rather than chasing large studio-backed epics, she has quietly focused on character-driven roles, independent directors, and projects with lower political stakes but higher artistic value. Insiders say this shift reflects her desire to regain control of her narrative, to transition from the queen of ratings she once was into an actress who chooses meaning over magnitude. And in an unexpected way, this phase has revealed the core of her strength. She continues to draw tremendous attention, not because the industry elevates her, but because audiences remain loyal despite the system's attempts to reposition her. Still, the question remains, will she ever return to the peak she once held? The answer depends not on talent, she has proven that countless times, but on alignment. If Zhao Liying ever chooses to formally attach herself to a major state-backed studio, or participate prominently in the new wave of ideological dramas being developed for national distribution, her status could shift almost overnight. But doing so would require sacrificing the independence that defined her rise. And for someone whose entire identity was built on self-made success, that path may not be one she is willing to take. What is clear now is that Zhao Liying stands at a crossroads shaped not by scandal, but by structure. Her ultimate price was never a dramatic fall, but a controlled recalibration. A reminder that in China's entertainment industry, the greatest risk a star can take is not breaking the rules, but refusing to play by them. In the end, the story of Zhao Liying is not the story of a downfall, but the story of a system quietly reshaping someone who refused to fit its preferred mold. Her journey shows how influence in China's entertainment industry is never just about talent or popularity. It is about alignment, predictability, and the willingness to move in step with forces much larger than the star herself. Zhao Liying rose because of the people, not because of any faction, and that alone made her an anomaly. A figure who could shift viewership numbers by tens of millions and ignite conversations without relying on institutional power. But it also meant she had no protection when the system began steering toward a new era, one where control, stability, and political cohesion mattered more than ratings or public sentiment. And yet, what remains most striking is how she endures. Even as projects slowed and visibility narrowed, her presence never disappeared. Fans across China and beyond still speak of her as the face of a generation, an actress who represented possibility in an industry defined by limits. Her influence, though moderated, continues to ripple quietly through the landscape, a reminder that genuine public connection is not easily extinguished. In many ways, her current position reflects a delicate balance, allowed to shine, but only within boundaries, allowed to speak, but only within curated moments, allowed to rise again, but only if she chooses a path that aligns with what Beijing expects from its cultural icons. So the question now turns outward. Will Zhao Liying reclaim the throne she once occupied? Or will she choose to rebuild her legacy on her own terms, even if that means stepping further away from the center of power? And more importantly, what does her story reveal about the invisible forces that shape the fate of every star in China's entertainment machine? Forces that can elevate, restrict, or quietly erase, all without ever saying a single word.